Today marks the end of Super's journey in the Overwatch League and as being a member of the San Francisco Shock as he has decided to hang it up and retire. It almost feels hard to believe that this is actually the world we're living in. This is reality. Super is finally leaving us in terms of being a professional player after all of these years. Super was there during the inaugural season and was one of the longest tenured players in Overwatch League history, and now that he's gone, I believe that Carpe is the only guy remaining that is on his original team. What a sad day it is to lose one of the greatest influences and one of the biggest figures and personalities in Overwatch League history. The timing of this just feels so wrong, you know? We're only like 6 weeks away from the start of the Overwatch League, but we'll talk about that a bit later. The thing I really want to bring up though is that this isn't exactly the most surprising retirement in the world. I mean, the timing of it, yeah, it seems a little bit shocking, but Super kind of seemed like he might have been leaning towards retirement at the beginning of the offseason. I, for one, thought that he definitely was going to retire. I was actually more so surprised that he originally decided to stay. How I see it is he's been doing this for 4 years now, and he has such a bright career ahead of him in the streaming world and as a content creator slash influencer and entertainer. We all tend to think of him as the Overwatch guy, but truth be told, he's just a great streamer in general, and people love to watch him play whatever it might be, whether it's Overwatch, some sort of variety. He gets thousands upon thousands of viewers. He has a great community going on. If I was him, I'd retire too. Why put yourself through all of that stress of being a pro when you can arguably make more money as a full-time streamer? He has the potential to really grow on the Twitch platform and become something huge in my eyes, so why not just go for it? Who cares about the Overwatch League at this point? Pursue a career that could last you way beyond this game. The future just seems so bright for him in the streaming world, but something else to think about is that he was simultaneously juggling the responsibilities of being a pro esports athlete with his community and being a streamer. This dude would stream like every single day these last few years, despite having all of those scrims to go to and even playing games. He was always on the hustle, always on the grind. And if we're being real with ourselves, when you do it that many years consecutively, it can really take a toll on one's mind and even physical bodies. So Super, in my eyes, is certainly making a really good call here, and he kind of goes into detail about some of this stuff in his explanation as to why he decided to hang it up. To quote Super directly, here's what he had to say regarding this decision. I've had reservations about whether or not I could do another season for a long time now, and I really thought I had it in me to play again and give it one last run. Unfortunately, while preparing for the 2022 season with scrims and playing the game competitively, it made me realize that I don't have it in me nearly as much as I thought. I realized how much I had lost the passion to compete and how much it was wrecking me mentally and emotionally. This was a decision that had loomed over me for a very long time now, and I feel this is something I have to do for myself. It pains me to say and do this, but I realized that staying would sacrifice my own happiness and health, eventually bringing my team down in the long run, which is something I would never want to do. So there you have it. Super really didn't have it in him to continue competing at this level. He's kind of just lost his drive and desire to do so, and he also recognizes that if he keeps this up, it's going to take a major toll on his body and in a mental standpoint as well. And he also recognizes that it just wouldn't be fair to his teammates to stick around and only make them perform worse and drag everybody's morale down. So really, he's benefiting himself, but also his teammates as well. It's a very selfless thing for him to do, and I expect nothing less from a great leader like himself. So when you combine all of that, plus the obvious idea of being able to go full-time with a stream, this is a really smart decision for him. But of course, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be speculating that it could be for some other reasons, like perhaps he doesn't really enjoy Overwatch 2, he thinks it's a joke, etc., etc., the game's doomed, blah blah blah, but I'm not going to go down that route. We're not going to assume anything. You can believe whatever you want, but we're not going to talk about that. What we are going to do, though, is honor Super for being an absolute GOAT, but also we're going to talk a bit about what this means for the San Francisco Shock heading into the future. Let's get the speculation stuff out of the way first. So as it stands right now, the Shock have 0 tank players on their roster as far as we know, and they're going to have to do some tryouts really quick actually to try and figure it out so they can scrim appropriately and be prepared for the start of this year. The only question now is, Who on earth do they go for? Do they plan on going for an exciting rookie? Maybe they're going to look towards O2 Blast, their new academy team, for the answer, or do they have some sort of veteran presence in mind? There's a lot of different directions they could take. The only problem is, we're pretty late into the game here, so I don't know what their options are realistically, and if they even have that many to choose from, so that could maybe be a point of concern if you're a Shock fan. Truth be told, I have no idea what they're thinking in terms of replacements, and I'm very curious to see what Krusty can draw up in such a short amount of time. If you have any theories as to who the Shock might sign, let me know down in the comments below. The Shock's potential seriously might have ended up getting hindered here. It's a point of concern, no doubt about it, moving forward until they can prove themselves to us. It's absolutely wild, by the way, to believe that this is the first time there's been real concerns about the Shock tank line since 2018, and we're talking early 2018. That is how long they've been set at this position, and you've just never had to worry about it ever. They've had Super, Smurf, and Choi open for all of these years. What was there ever to worry about? Now, after being spoiled for all these years, they're starting all over. All of the legends are gone. The only piece left is Violet. Other than that, this is a fresh new team, which, I mean, obviously is scary, but super exciting as well for the Shock because you never know what might come of it. So keep your heads up, ladies and gentlemen. This is a sad time for sure, but you never know what might happen here in the future as this team grows and molds into something brand new. That's about all I've got for the Shock though. I'm a bit worried about their future, but somewhat excited at the same time. So now let's just take a few moments to truly appreciate the man known as Matthew DeLisi. Love or hate the guy, we all have to admit that he is one of the greatest players to ever grace this game. He's one of the greatest tank players at the very least, arguably the best Reinhardt, one of the best main tanks. He's got all of the accolades, all of the achievements, and to top it all off, he's just one of the biggest superstars in general from a popularity standpoint, and he was the face of the franchise for God knows how long. I'd say like the last 3 years because of that amazing personality. From 2019 until basically the present, you really didn't think about the league without having Super come to your mind. It's funny though, because he didn't even have to play necessarily for him to be at the top of everybody's conversations. He was a very meme-worthy type of guy. Some people would just make fun of him and have funny jokes about him being on the bench, not playing well enough, his personality, maybe him being too cocky. There was always something with him. He was always entertaining to listen to and watch as well. That's something we cannot understate. He was a true leader of the San Francisco Shock. I think his hero pool maybe could have been a bit better, but I think overall he was really good at what he did. His Reinhardt, in my opinion, is the greatest of all time, or at the very least the greatest GOAT's Reinhardt. It was just an explosion and an absolute fury of amazing plays and crazy aggression and Chad-like behavior, I'd like to add. It was all about the MTD with this guy, as he formed some great rivalries, like with Bumper for example. That was always a good time. Super knew how to grab your attention. He was an entertainer even if he wasn't trying to be. During his prime, he always had the passion and the motivation and the energy to keep on moving forward and improving. He always wanted to win. He was never satisfied unless he was the best. Whenever the Shock would lose a tough game, the camera would pan over to Super and you could tell that it would bother him to no end. He never wanted to lose. He had the champion mentality. And I'd say from like the end of Stage 1 2019 and onward, he showed that hard work really can pay off. Even if you dislike the guy for his personality or whatever, he was still always one of the better main tanks in the Overwatch League, whether you like it or not. He was there for a lot of big moments. He made a bunch of the big plays himself. There were memes that were made after him. I mean, who could forget about the Super Bad meme or when he played Genji? There's so many different things that he was a part of that are just forever engraved into our memories in terms of Overwatch League play. But through the goods and some of the hilarious bads, Super proved that he is one of the greatest ever. He has all the accolades in the world to show you that he is a top player of all time and a champion through and through. We're talking a 2-time Overwatch League Grand Finals champion, a 2019 Stage 2 champion, a Countdown Cup and May Melee champion in 2020, a former MVP runner-up in 2019 during the regular season, a former Roll Star, and a former All-Star, as well as a World Cup gold medalist. The only things truly missing from his insane resume, I guess you could say, are winning an actual MVP award, as well as never winning Apex, because a lot of people think that is like the pinnacle of pro Overwatch. If you're an Apex champion, you are elite. But aside from that, he's got all the boxes you could ever imagine checked off. And just to further solidify how much of an amazing tank player he is the all-time leader in eliminations, final blows, and hero damage as Reinhardt. It's just one of the best careers of all time, and it's going to be very hard for anyone to ever match it. He generally has one of the greatest resumes in the history of professional Overwatch up until this point. He really was an absolute legend to this league, and it goes beyond what he did as a player, as he also checks off that box of being a legendary personality. Just from the standpoint of what he meant to his teammates, his coaches, and everyone involved with the Shock organization, everybody loved him. It's pretty safe to say that he was always fun to be around, super enjoyable to make jokes with and just hang out with. Super was the man. He was the captain and undeniable leader of the San Francisco Shock franchise. He led this team in-game, but also out of game in so many different ways. I mean, for one, I think that he just established a lot of amazing relationships and friendships, and he made the lives of a bunch of his teammates a lot easier, especially the Korean teammates who may not have had an easy time transitioning to life in the USA. He just made life easier for everybody. He knew how to make people smile outside of the game, but in-game, he was also the person always on the comms. He'd take charge, always communicating, never stopped talking like ever, but that's not a bad thing. That's the kind of guy you want. Speaking of never wanting to stop talking, that's another reason why people tend to like him. He had a big-time personality / ego on him. He wasn't afraid to express his opinions or be the alpha dog, so to speak. Sometimes it annoyed some people for sure, but I for one really didn't have a problem with it, as most of it clearly was a bit or an act just to entertain. Some of it definitely was serious, yeah, but for the most part, Super was just trying to be an entertainer, and that's what he's best at. Love or like the guy, he always had a way to keep your eyes on him, and that's part of the reason he lasted for so long in this league. It's why he's considered to be one of the faces of the franchise, both for the Shock and the Overwatch League, because of that personality of his and his ability to stand out from a crowd. Every single professional sports league known to man needs a type of player like Super, so in that regard, I think we should all be very grateful for what he's done. It's not easy to discover a franchise player like this because not everybody's so willing to step this much into the spotlight or express that much personality. Some people don't like the idea of potentially playing the villain or bantering and talking trash to your own chat, your teammates, and even the opponent. But Super was that guy, and that's part of the reason that the Overwatch League was so entertaining outside of the games themselves. Personality is what drives sports leagues to continue to improve and get more popular. There's only so much that the games themselves can do. People want to be attracted to personalities. They need people who are marketable, and I think both the Shock and the Overwatch League owe a big thanks to Super in that department. At this point in time, most of the big names and legends are gone from the game now. Think of your Seagulls and your Ryu J. Hongs, XQCs, they're all gone now. Now Super is adding on to that list. And that's kind of scary to think about because we might not have that type of guy at all this year now. Somebody who's super marketable, somebody who can make us laugh both during the live broadcast and in-game, somebody who could banter with all of the broadcast personalities and whatnot, somebody who's really good for video content, both for the team and for the league. We're just not going to have that same type of guy anymore, I fear, and that's very depressing. Super's practically irreplaceable, and that's just insane to think about from the grand scheme of it. His impact was that large. Super's goated. I really don't know what else to say. I'm truly and eternally grateful for everything that he has contributed to this league and professional Overwatch in general over the last 5 or so years. Super was an entertainer, a fan favorite, a champion, a winner, a one-of-a-kind teammate, a leader, and most importantly, a great guy. Super did all of that plus more in his Overwatch League professional career. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I don't know if there's a way to properly thank the guy. He went above and beyond and just did way more than any of us could ever ask from him. But I'll try my best. Thank you so much for everything that you've done, Super. We are all internally grateful for all of the years that you have blessed the game with your presence, both as a player and as a personality. You truly are one of the best ever, and you actually did make the league that much better these last couple of years, and the league just won't feel the same without you, man. But of course, we all respect your decision and believe that it's the right thing to do. Nobody's disappointed in you. Let me make that abundantly clear. No one in this world could blame you. Your well-being and mental health take priority over all things. And if that means putting your professional days behind you, then so be it. Seriously, go out there and enjoy all of the benefits that come with putting your professional playing days behind you. There's so much potential for you to grow as a streamer and just become the next big thing. So just go out there and keep doing you, man. Thank you so much for everything, and good luck in the future.